Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassani, and listen, I'm excited every single Wednesday because that is the day that Lakeisha Hines, that phenomenal practitioner from Tampa, Florida, joins in, weighs in, and drips with wisdom. It comes out of her pores. She chews wisdom all over the place. And so we're going to be talking about the conversation today, common reconciliation mistakes to avoid when there has been an affair. But listen, before we get started, make sure you take an opportunity to like, share, and subscribe. Let the people know that we are live this morning and they can tune in for the live broadcast. And if they're watching on the replay, listen, we appreciate you too. We want to acknowledge you. We know that there are those of you who watch every single day and we have no clue who you are. And 2 years later, hey, I've been watching you for the last 2 years and we're shocked, but we thank you. Also, Last Chance Weekend is happening next weekend, February the 10th through the 12th. We're excited because people are signing up. What about you? What are you waiting for? It's time for you to get your marriage in order and engage in a process that will guarantee your transformation and reconciliation. So if you have any questions about that, make sure you reach out. Listen, I promised, I said, listen, there were so many comments that came in on yesterday. We didn't have time to address them. And so we're going to do a little Q&A in response to these comments before we go into the points today. And thank God I have Lakeisha here because her brain is a lot bigger than mine. She can handle difficult situations in a more comprehensive way. So one of the questions came in, or one of the statements is, we were talking about just so many different things, and the chat was blowing up, Lakeisha. So my adult children refused to speak to me or have anything to do with me after the disclosure. But they do with my husband. We both were unfaithful. So in this particular case, both spouses were unfaithful, but the children have sided with the husband or the father and not the wife, the mother. And I think it may be because the extent of the affairs or the multiple affairs. And so we were talking about the importance of knowing how to re-engage with the children, knowing when to approach, how to have conversations, what conversations should be had. Keep in mind, these are adult children. So what would your overall thoughts be for a situation like that?
Man, I really wish today's topic would have happened prior to them talking to their children, because we're going to address some of that today. But the reality is this, man, for those of you who have not told your children yet, do not tell your children. I don't care if they're adults or not, but because they do know now, my advice to mom is to, first of all, not focus on the fact that they have sided with dad. That's not where you need to be focusing your energy. It's really about trying to rebuild and restore and reconnect with your children. How you go about doing that is because they already know what has happened. So it's full ownership and accountability. Do not get into pointing the finger, because that can make it worse. If you say, well, your dad did this and this is why I did. And if you start talking bad about their father, you start bashing him, talking down about their dad, that's going to create even more division between you and your kids. And I don't know the gender of these children, because that makes a difference too. But the reality is this: you just got to be open and honest and own your stuff. That's the biggest thing. Be accountable. Take responsibility for whatever it is that you did without excuse and without finger pointing. And because they're adults, I would literally ask them, what can I do to make this right? What is it that you need from me at this particular point in time? And no matter what you say, I'm never going to give up, because you're my kids. I love you. And this relationship is extremely important to me. So that's where I would start.
Excellent point. Listen, I want to speak to High Shadow. I see your comment. You said you left a long chat yesterday that may not have made the show. If you could repost that question in a short, succinct way, I want to take the time to address it because I don't necessarily see that. But I want to get to another point, another statement that was made. I'm kind of confused by it, so I'm going to reshape in a way that I am understanding it and we can address it. But in essence, I think she's saying, if you are not healed yet, would it be okay to move on to someone else?
No.
Okay.
No.
Elaborate, Lakeisha, and then I'll weigh in.
Absolutely not, because all you're doing is taking that baggage and damage into another relationship, and it's just going to ruin that relationship too. The problem is not all the relationship. The problem is you were in that relationship,
Mm.
which made it mess up or whatever. So now you're going to take that same issue, those same problems, that same bitterness, resentment, anger, whatever it is that you're experiencing into a new relationship. It won't change the outcome of that relationship. If anything, it's going to be worse because you're starting it off with the wrong foundation. So, no, it's so important that you take the time to heal before you enter into another relationship. Otherwise, you're going to just get more of the same.
Yes, yes. That whole difference between being single and separate, man, you can be physically separate from your past partner, but not be
Mhm,
single yet because you're still holding on to all of the issues, the drama, the stuff from the
mhm,
past. You haven't gone through a detox yet. And so sometimes we race out of one relationship into another and we're broken and fragmented and we project a lot of our past hurt and pain onto our new partner and hold them hostage
right,
to past situations we haven't healed from yet. And it just
mhm,
becomes a cabal of madness. So being alone and by yourself and spending time with God and allowing him to heal you emotionally, going through a spiritual transformation, a relational reset, like these are the things
mhm,
that are necessary. So I definitely co-sign. But let's get into today's conversation, and as more comments come in, we'll address it. We're talking about the common reconciliation mistakes to avoid when there
mhm,
has been an affair. This is not on the list, but I definitely want to say this. I think many people operate in haste. We have this knee-jerk reaction to leave. Like, I can't believe you did it. I'm out. And so we make decisions, rash decisions, without thinking them through. And there are often a lot of consequences that happen as a result of that. So what we would encourage you to do is to pause. Sometimes the best decision that you can make is no decision at all in that season at that time. So you have wise people speaking into your life, a process you go through, something so that whatever decision you make, it's a balance between heart and mind. Like, it just makes sense. But let's get into some of these points that I think are good. Number one, and we talk about full disclosure and the importance
mhm.
of the full disclosure, but sometimes there are certain types of questions that may not serve you. So don't ask too many questions that may cause you to remain trapped in a trigger. Some questions are very traumatizing when you find out certain answers because you can't unlearn what you've learned. You can't unsee what you saw or have seen. And so, certain questions need to be asked to get clarity and closure, but certain questions are for curiosity. And as they say, curiosity killed the cat. So whenever we're going through full disclosure, we review the questions that a spouse may ask because we may say, well, why? First of all, I get why you want to ask a lot of questions, but tell me more about that question. Like, what's the true motive and the intent behind that? And is that a path that you want to go down? Is that a rabbit hole that you want to go into? Because if we do, I want to prepare you for what you may have to deal with if you truly want to know that. I mean, in your experience, Lakeisha, because you're a veteran, you've done this with so many couples, have you seen where certain types of questions really cause a huge setback and it's hard to recover from, or,
Absolutely.
it's just fair game?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, to thine own self be true, right? You know yourself, you know what you can handle, and you know what you can't. So for me, I'm a very visual person. So when people tell me things, like, I automatically create these images in my mind. So I know I have to guard my mind against certain things. So if you know that you're that type of person, you do need to be very careful with the questions that you're asking, because depending on the answers that you receive, it may be an image that is permanently imprinted in your mind that you will not
Mm,
be able to get rid of. And that image will pop into your mind at times that you are unable to control. And it's always the most inopportune times, right, Hassani? Like those times when you're supposed to be
yes.
connecting and bonding. Maybe you're connecting in another way and it pops into your mind like that. That's not what you want to be happening. So yes, the right questions at the wrong time, the wrong questions at the right time can really create more of a disconnect between you and your spouse. And so yes, you have to be so mindful with the questions that you ask.
Great question. So yeah, asking too many or asking the wrong ones doesn't serve you. But then Lakeisha, go to the next one.
So don't ask too few questions. So now you're saying, okay, wait a minute. You just told us not to ask too many, but now you're saying don't ask too few. So it's a balance, right? It's a delicate balance. And again, that's why I'm saying you have to know yourself and be true to yourself. Because also, if you're the type of person that needs the details, you can't rest until you get the details, and you know that you can handle that information, then you do need to get your questions out. You know, when we go through full disclosure with clients, we tell them to be empty. Be empty. Do not walk away from this full disclosure process and you still have something burning in your heart that you need to ask. And a lot of times clients don't ask because of fear. You know, they're afraid of what the answer may be. But this is also what we find, that when you don't ask, you create these stories in your mind. And a lot of times, what you're creating in your mind is 3 times worse than what the truth actually
Yes.
is. So, we want you to ask the questions that you need to ask. One, so you
Mm,
can be
mm, mm.
empty, but two, so you're not making up things in your mind that factually just may not be true.
Oh man, that's so good. Here's another one though, because we've seen this and we've had conversations offline about this, and that is, listen, refrain from taking revenge. You know, I think it was Confucius who said, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. One for the one that you're seeking revenge on, and yourself as well. Because if you
Right.
think revenge only hurts and harms the other person, you're sadly mistaken. It has a tremendous impact on you as well. We have seen people who have hurt other people because they were hurt. Well, fine, you gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Now the reality is that's just not who you are, and you don't
Hmm.
realize the position you're putting yourself in by having so much contempt and vitriol for your spouse, that you will lower yourself, you will lower your standards, you will dig in the dirt, muck in the mire, and do things that you're not ready and prepared for, not
Mm.
knowing what the potential consequences will be for you. Because what if you mess with the wrong one and wind up with a STD, or now you wind
Wow.
up pregnant, or now you wind up in some type of public crisis, and the whole thing gets progressively worse. But beyond that, I'm telling you, it's going to just create much more hurt and pain. So now, and what happens is we see the comparisons, right? So you
Yes.
cheated and you were in a 6-month affair, but it was just a
Mhm.
one night stand for me. So I'm
Mhm.
justifying what I did. Like there's a couple right now. They both were unfaithful, and she literally she has no remorse. She justifies it because of what he did. And so don't ask
Mhm.
me to apologize, because I wouldn't have did what I did if it wasn't for you. And you put, and
Mhm.
it's just like we got to break this crazy cycle, because
Yeah.
there's no healing, there's no mutual understanding, and it's difficult to help this couple reconcile because they are both just stuck. And then on top of that, what about when the offender, I cheated on you, babe, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you a hall pass. Just go ahead, do
Right.
your
Oh,
thing, get it out your system, and then we can move forward and make things work. And you don't realize how damaging, like, Lakeisha, please take
it
over because
doesn't
I'm losing
work.
it over here.
It doesn't work. I know, like, we get so heated about this because we see it all the time and it doesn't work, because that hall pass situation, literally what it does, it can backfire. And we've seen it backfire. It's like, okay, you were judging me about what I did. I know I gave you a hall pass, but you didn't have to take it. Like, you literally can get trapped in taking that hall pass. But then also, now the original betrayer is looking at you sideways and funny, because it's like now they have that image in their head of you being unfaithful. But I will tell you this: Eleanor Roosevelt said, learn from the mistakes of others. You cannot live long enough to make them
Mm,
all yourself.
yes.
So if you don't learn from the mistake of the original betrayer, do not become the secondary betrayer. Like, I promise you, you will make this situation 2 times worse. You can recover from all of this, but why are you adding more on your recovery list? It makes no sense. So
Facts.
don't
That's
do it.
just facts. Guys,
Do
I
not do
hope
it.
I hope you're learning something. I hope you're getting something. We're just getting started. Man, we're just scratching the surface. There's so much more to get to, but we're going to take a quick break. Watch the video, watch the commercial. It's for you. There's something we want to share with you, and we'll be right back. I see the comments and the chat's blown up. We'll get to your comments and then we'll dive into more points. Stay right there. Guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. Last Chance Weekend, you saw the video. We have people who are actually signing up virtually. Some of you can't make it because you're in another country. Like I see Uganda in the building this morning. We have Canada in the building. We have Australia in the building. And you're like, man, you guys are in the States. I mean, I wish we were local. No, but we are local. We have a local reach because of our virtual connection. So if you're interested in being a part of an experience, you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So just reach out to us so that we can help you. There was also another question that said, is there a phone number that I can call? Like if you look at the lower screen, Bobby put that up, right? There's a number right there. But you can also go to the website. You can go to couplesacademy.org and set up a discovery call. It's a 15-minute free call where we kind of hear about your situation and figure out what your next step should be. There's a few comments that came in here. I definitely want to hit this. So number one from Slim1515, he says, okay, I'm the cheating spouse and my spouse wants me to be open and honest about everything. But what if she also violated the marriage and she doesn't? I'm assuming she's not being open and honest. Any suggestions? How would you handle that, Lakeisha?
Yeah, so I mean, one person doesn't get to get full transparency and the other gets to withhold. No, this is a mutual thing. Like if she was unfaithful, then she needs to be open and honest and come clean as well. Um, I don't understand how we continue to expect things of others that we are unwilling to do ourselves. When we're in a relationship,
Mhm.
I know for me, I can't speak for anybody else but myself. I am very cautious about what I ask my spouse to do or not do because if I ask him to do it, I need to be willing to do it myself. And so I'm very, very careful about what I request and what I deny, because if I deny a request, then I have to be open and willing to receive that same denial. And I'm not talking about tit for tat. That's not what I mean. It's about a willingness to, again, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's the reality of the situation. So no, you totally deserve full disclosure, just like you're willing to give her full disclosure.
Absolutely. I have another alley oop question. Well, if you watch basketball, do you know what an alley oop is, Lakeisha?
Yes,
I'm
I
going to
do.
pass the ball. You're going to slam dunk it. So here we go. This is from Sherry. I had seen some messages from my spouse to the ex affair partner. The comments he
Mhm.
made were cruel. How do I get past this? Now, this is very, very, very common because I discovered the affair through emails, through text
Mhm.
messages, through videos, whether they were sex videos or just overhearing conversations. And it's traumatizing. How do I get past what I now know?
Right. So understand that at the time that your spouse was engaging in an affair, that was not your spouse. That was somebody completely different. So everything that they were doing, everything that they were thinking, everything that they were saying, that was not your spouse. They were not in a healthy place. And so when we're not in a healthy place, we do unhealthy things. So it's very difficult not to take that personal. I completely understand that. But remember, as it pertains to infidelity, it's not about the infidelity. You know, that's the thing that we can put our finger on that we think destroyed the relationship. But the reality is everything that was happening prior to the relationship that truly opened the door for infidelity. So whatever they were experiencing and feeling prior to infidelity is what came out in their conversation with that affair partner. So
Yeah.
again, it's hard not to take it personally, but really the focus, instead of, you worrying about what they said to the affair partner or to anybody else, the focus really should be on the marital problems that existed prior to the infidelity. And let's go back there and let's work on that.
Okay. Listen, I'm going to go to High Shadow, and I appreciate you taking the time to write this question. But let me just, this is for everybody. Like, you cannot leave 3 and 4 paragraphs. I mean, it's a quick statement. This is a lot of backstory, and some of you have done that in the past. And this is not a counseling session. This is quick question, quick answer, so we can get to other points. So I'm going to do this because I said rewrite it, but I'm just saying for the future, for all you who are watching, we don't mind answering your questions, but you got to understand, like, it's a podcast. There's only so much we can address.
You want
So
me to
this
read
is
it, Hassani? You want me to
could you
read it?
please? There you
I
go,
will. I'll
sis.
read it because listen, y'all about to take Hassani to another place. He has a tendency to rush my recovery and healing process, and he is adamant that she was only a close friend who he ministered, spiritually poured into, and she became like a little sister to him. He insists that he had no feelings for her. He was not physically attracted to her, and he wasn't aware that he was crossing boundaries with her during the friendship. But I found it hard to believe. He admitted to me that at times he does miss his friendship with her, but it's not worth losing our marriage. He says he realizes the damage that has been done and now he feels free. But judging by his current demeanor, my gut intuition tells me that he is sad about losing her. How do I know when my husband is truly remorseful for his betrayal of our marriage covenant? And Shadow did apologize. We receive your apology. Just do
Okay, we
different
received
moving
that.
forward.
Yeah, because I'm saying, sis, and you picked up at the third statement. There were 2 statements prior to that she made that gave
Oh
a little bit
no.
more backstory. So there was
Okay.
a preface to her, you know.
Okay. So since ending the entanglement, we agreed to marital counseling with our pastor, and we've had several sessions, but I still feel there's no true remorse on his end. That's the issue. Okay.
No, there's one
Okay.
above that. It's been 3 months since my husband ended an emotional entanglement with a female coworker that lasted for 4 years. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead, Lakeisha, because
All
you're on a
right. So
roll.
It's been 4 years, so I get that, that it was an extremely long affair. So, of course, there's an attachment to this person. You know, a serious attachment can happen in 4 months, you know? So I don't wanna get so hung up on the numbers, but I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say, "Dude, this was like 4 years that you were engaging in this affair with this person." So this person became a part of his daily life and daily routine. And so it was more than an entanglement, sis. It was a relationship that he had with this person, because it has been 4 years. So how do you know if he's truly remorseful? Well, full transparency, right? Full disclosure, not hiding anything, giving you access to everything, listening to you when you need to vent, responding to your triggers. And when I say respond, I don't mean that he is solely responsible for you overcoming your triggers, but he does contribute to the success or failure of you being able to get over your triggers. A lot of that is independent and on your own, but he can contribute, he can influence how quickly you actually overcome your triggers, but it's not his responsibility, it's your responsibility. But he still should be
And
present.
yeah, yeah. And going back to the length of this affair, the recovery process may be somewhat different when there's been a
Mhm.
long-term relationship versus a
Mhm.
physical one-night stand or some casual sex that you had a couple times because of that emotional attachment. And here's the
Mhm.
hard part. Like, you're the betrayed spouse. You're hurting, but your spouse is also hurting because while you lost what you believed was a healthy relationship with your spouse lost what was a long-term inappropriate affair with somebody else. So there's
Mhm.
the death that you're experience of your relationship, but then there's the death that they're experiencing of this affair relationship. And you're watching, like you're on the sidelines watching their pain because they now miss or they're thinking about, or the passion, the intensity, the focus that they had on that other person, they don't have towards you. Like, there's a lot here. And so I've been in situations where we've done full disclosure and then we had to end the affair all over again. And we have a method and a process to do it. But sometimes the way in which you do it may have to be different when there's a long affair than when it's just a fling, because with a fling, maybe a quick text message or an email or a final letter is enough. But when it's a long-term affair, it may require something uniquely different. And we've walked
Yes.
couples through those differences because what
Mhm.
happens is, if it's not done correctly, sometimes we leave a crack in the window, a crack in
Mhm.
the door, and then at the most inopportune time, there's a reconnection, and then boom! All it took was a phone call. All it took was a ping or a poke on a social media post, and then they're back at it again. So we want to make sure that it's officially done and that there's a, what I would say, a grieving process that you both go through that's different. And then the remorse that needs to follow. Yes, we can tell if it's genuine. You may not know. And this is why sometimes you need somebody to navigate this process with you. So thanks
Mhm.
for the question. I hope that the answer helps. If there's anything more that we can do to assist you in this process, that's what we're here for. And that's for all of you. Like, listen, guys, we do this. This is a free service and we love it. We love being able to pour out and to help you however we can. But some of you know that there's a deeper dive that goes beyond the scope of this show. And you have brilliant practitioners like Lakeisha Hines and many of the rest of our team who you see on a weekly basis that could really help you get back on track. Why? Not just because of their expertise and their training, but because of their personal experience as well. And one of the things that we always say is you got to be careful who you listen to. You listen to people who have what you want and have been where you've been. We listen to the wrong people looking for the right advice, and we make our situations that much worse. And so, what are the fruit? What's the fruit that you bear? What are the results in your life? If you don't have what I'm looking for, you're disqualified. And that's
Yes.
just a free tip for all of you who are watching. But anyway, guys, we've come to the end of our show. It was so quick, Lakeisha, like it's over
I
already. But
know.
listen, To all of you family members around the world and all throughout the United States, we thank you. We love you. And we will see you tomorrow for part 2 of this conversation, because we've only scratched the surface. But until then, we'll see you in the morning. Take care, guys.